You know, Friday night after the show, I went to a religious service. Actually, it was a religious dinner before a service. I'm not into the service as much as the dinner. So I was there, and they had a group of young girls, 16, 17 years old, who were camp counselors in there. They were the sweetest young girls I had seen. When you're around purity like that, you can feel it. And I sat there and I ate, and you know, when I was leaving, I said something to these young girls. I don't have the time right now. I'm compressed. I can't compress what I said to them. But I want to share with you what I said to these religious young girls. So I go to this religious dinner Friday night. There are about 10 girls, 16, 17, camp counselors. They're all pure. These girls are not even allowed to date boys until they're ready to marry them. I don't know if you know anything about worlds like that. They're unlike children that you know. These people live in another world. You might say a backward world, a Puritan world. I say God bless them. Anyway, so I sat through the dinner, this and that. As I was leaving, I went over to the young ladies, and many of them, by the way, had grown up in New York listening to this show since the time they were 5, 6, 7 years old. Either their father had listened to it. They're not allowed to watch television, by the way, in this group. They cannot watch television because it's known to be such vile imagery that they're not allowed to. So I said, but you're allowed to listen to radio. I said, why? And they explained the difference between radio and TV and blah, blah, blah. So they said, you know, I've been listening to you since I'm 8 or 5 or 7, and now I'm 17, and it's amazing to meet you and this and that. So they loved my voice, and I said, girls, I said very nicely, I said, you know, when you look around in the world, you see beautiful clothing, you see beautiful jewelry, you see beautiful cars, you see shoes that cost $5,000 a pair, you see the girls from Hollywood looking so elegant and so gorgeous. I said, but do you ask yourself why most all of them end up in alcohol or drug rehab, and they can't even complete a course in alcohol or drug rehabilitation, that they're continuously in rehab? It's because their souls are screaming out for what you have. I said, you may not have the cars and the jewelry and the clothing, but you have something that those girls in America are dying for, and that's something that is forever lost to them, and that's God. I said, what you have inside of you is the kingdom of God is inside you. And I can feel it in them. I want to tell you, when you're around people who are really living that world, I don't care what the religion is, when they are invested in God and God is invested in them, and I don't want to get too preachy, I'm just telling you, this is a fact of reality as sure as I'm sitting here. I know many of you are materialists and you can't even follow what I'm saying because you don't believe that the spiritual world exists or that it can exist. I see it when it exists. So I said to them, what you have inside of you is what they want, and they can't get it. And that's why they're always reaching to fill themselves with drugs or alcohol or partying or whatever. And that's all I said, just remember that you have what they want. And I left it at that. I didn't say so therefore anything. Whether they really heard me, they're just young girls, I don't really know. I hope they did. I hope if they're listening to the show today that they recognize I was speaking from one soul to another.